I'm also very grateful for our speakers today, for our chair, Professor Limberry, and for their contribution in terms of broadening what we hope was a general interest to you, but also your response to that.
Alongside the personal grief that all my family are feeling, we also share with so many of you in the United Kingdom, in all the countries where the Queen was head of state, in the Commonwealth, and across the world, a deep sense of gratitude.
What happens when the silence finally breaks?
The ability to have somebody who is kind of epitomizes what you think your country stands for has always been a major ambition.
For weeks, the palace corridors have echoed with whispers and rumors about King Charles's sudden step away from the throne and the royal family's carefully guarded reactions. Everyone waited, but one voice stayed quiet until now. Princess Anne, known for her restraint and loyalty, has chosen this moment to speak out, and her words are not what many expected. Behind the polished smiles and official statements lies a truth the palace can no longer contain. Why now? Why her? And most importantly, what does this mean for the monarchy's future? This isn't just another royal headline. This is a turning point, one that could reshape how history remembers King Charles's reign and his shocking exit. Princess Anne's statement has left the nation questioning everything they thought they knew about the royal family's inner circle. So, what exactly did she say? And why are insiders calling it the most revealing moment since the king's announcement? Stay with us, because we're about to uncover the truth that could shake the very foundation of the crown. The silence that spoke volumes. For weeks, the royal family carried themselves with the kind of restraint only they could manage. Cameras flashed, microphones hovered, and questions rained down. But their responses were like smoke, thin, vague, and impossible to hold on to. Each time a journalist tried to dig deeper into King Charles's sudden retreat from public duties, the palace spokesperson offered the same carefully chosen words. Nothing more, nothing less. It was as if every line had been rehearsed behind closed doors, signed off, and delivered with the intention of ending curiosity rather than feeding it. But silence has its own language, and this silence wasn't empty, it was loaded. It wasn't the pause before clarity, it was the pause that suggested secrets. To the public, it felt like someone had locked the truth in a vault, sealed it with royal wax, and thrown away the key. And yet, everyone could sense the weight of what was being hidden. It wasn't just about privacy, it was about control. The longer the palace stayed quiet, the louder the rumors grew. Whispers filled the spaces where answers should have been. Some claimed King Charles's health was far worse than reported. Others pointed to private disagreements about succession. A few even believed that Charles had been pushed gently or otherwise into stepping back, not entirely of his own choice. Theories multiplied because nature abhors a vacuum, and silence was the biggest vacuum of all. Inside royal gatherings, subtle changes became impossible to ignore. Smiles looked thinner, as though they were stretched on faces that no longer knew how to relax. Conversations were shorter, often cut with glances that hinted at unease. The family that once projected unity, the kind that could withstand scandal, crisis, and decades of scrutiny, now appeared strangely fragile. The air between them seemed heavy, as if carrying invisible truths, too delicate to say out loud. Observers noticed the tension. At events, body language told stories that words never did. William's polite nods felt colder. Camilla's presence looked strained. Even Catherine, usually the embodiment of calm poise, carried an expression that suggested she was reading every room twice before speaking once. It was the kind of fragility that the cameras couldn't fully capture, but those present could feel in their bones. And then came Anne, the one person everyone believed would remain silent forever. Princess Anne had always been seen as the fortress, unyielding, disciplined, and loyal to the crown. She was the royal who rarely indulged in interviews, who stayed above the media circus, who let her work speak for itself. To imagine her breaking the silence was almost unthinkable. And yet, against every expectation, she chose to speak. Her decision wasn't just surprising, it was seismic. It broke the rhythm the palace had been carefully maintaining. While others kept repeating carefully crafted phrases, Anne shattered the illusion with her own words. They weren't shouted, they weren't emotional, but they carried weight, the kind of weight that comes only when someone who rarely speaks finally does. For the public, it was electrifying. People leaned closer, headlines lit up, and commentators scrambled to interpret every sentence. What exactly had she meant? Was she defending her brother? Or was she pointing towards something deeper, something the palace had tried so hard to hide? Anne didn't just break the silence, she cracked open the vault. And maybe that was exactly what the monarchy needed. Anne's reputation, the unshakable sister. Princess Anne has never been the kind of royal who enjoys the spotlight. Unlike others in the family who sometimes find themselves splashed across headlines for interviews, drama, or controversies, Anne has always stood apart. She isn't the type to open her private life to the media, nor does she rely on public sympathy to stay relevant. Instead, her life has been defined by action, not words. For decades, she has built her reputation around loyalty, hard work, and above all, silence. If you look at her royal career, the numbers speak louder than any tabloid ever could. Year after year, Anne consistently ranks among the hardest working royals.
You and me both, Caroline. I think the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, is so refreshing. She is straight talking. She is no nonsense, no fuss. She gets on with it. She is the hardest working royal last year and for many, many years.
Often carrying out more engagements than her brothers, or even her nephew, Prince William. Whether it's charity visits, military ceremonies, or quiet behind-the-scenes commitments, Anne never slows down. She doesn't do it for applause, and she doesn't do it for headlines. She does it because it's her duty. That sense of obligation is what has made her the most respected member of the family, not just in the public's eyes, but within the palace walls as well. It's no surprise then that when Anne finally chose to open her mouth about King Charles's shocking exit, the world froze for a moment. This was not Meghan giving an emotional TV interview. This was not Prince Harry releasing a memoir. This was Anne, the woman who has spent a lifetime refusing to be dramatic, finally speaking. And that alone made people sit up straighter, lean in closer, and listen harder. Anne doesn't speak without purpose. Every word she utters carries weight, not because it's shouted, not because it's wrapped in media strategy, but because it's rare. Silence has been her language for so long that when she breaks it, it's almost like thunder rolling across the sky. People know she wouldn't waste her voice on gossip or noise. If she spoke, it was for a reason. Her reputation transformed her statement into something much larger than a family comment. It wasn't simply a sister defending her brother or even criticizing him. It was history unfolding in real time. The monarchy is built on tradition and symbols, and Anne has become one of those living symbols, stoic, steady, unshakable. So when she spoke, it felt like the foundation itself was shifting, and that's why the reaction was so intense. Suddenly, the questions multiplied. Did she stand by Charles and offer the kind of support only a sibling could give? Or did her words carry a hidden criticism, a subtle message that the king's decision wasn't entirely his own? Could she have revealed a truth the palace had fought to keep hidden? That uncertainty sparked curiosity, and curiosity spread like wildfire. Within hours, public debate was everywhere. Commentators dissected her sentences, body language experts analyzed her expressions, and ordinary people wondered aloud what she really meant. Social media lit up with speculation. Some praised her bravery, while others believed she had exposed a deeper tension. Regardless of which side people fell on, one fact was undeniable: Anne had captured the world's attention without even trying. And perhaps that's the true power of her reputation. In a family often criticized for being too polished or too performative, Anne's simplicity feels authentic. She doesn't embellish, she doesn't exaggerate, and she doesn't try to please everyone. That honesty, combined with decades of consistent service, has made her one of the most trusted figures in the monarchy. People may not always agree with her, but they believe her. That belief is what turned her short statement into a global headline. Because when Anne speaks, people don't just hear her, they believe she's telling the truth. And in times of royal crisis, truth is the rarest commodity of all. In the end, Anne's silence-breaking moment became more than a passing comment. It became a chapter in royal history. She reminded the world that her loyalty isn't blind, that her silence doesn't mean ignorance, and that when she chooses to speak, it's because the moment truly matters. And in this case, it mattered more than anyone could have imagined. The hidden family rift. Behind every polished royal photograph lies a truth the public never sees. The carefully staged smiles, the perfect postures, and the glittering jewels all tell one story, but the silence in their eyes tells another. Many have begun to believe that King Charles's sudden exit wasn't simply about his health, as the palace carefully suggested.
King Charles III is sharing a rare health update amid his cancer battle. Over a year after the British monarch shared he had been diagnosed with an undisclosed cancer in February of 2024, he tells a royal fan during a recent visit to the Jockey Club rooms in Newmarket that he is in a good place.
It was about something far more complicated: conflict. For years, whispers of disagreements have circled inside the palace. Some revolve around succession, who should lead, who is ready, and who is not. Charles always carried the burden of being a monarch caught between tradition and modernity. His son, Prince William, represents the future, a figure many see as the bridge between the crown and the younger generation. But that transition isn't as smooth as it appears. Rumors suggest that not everyone inside the royal walls agrees on when or how that handover should happen. Then, there are the deeper struggles. The monarchy has always been about power, and power rarely shifts without friction. Behind closed doors, decisions about public appearances, responsibilities, and even private family matters can spark arguments that never make it into the news. What may appear to the public as calm unity is often the result of hours of negotiation, compromise, and tension. Anne's statements seem to brush against these unspoken battles. She didn't say the words outright, but her tone, her pauses, and the way she framed her message carried a hidden weight. To those who listened closely, it was clear: the family is not as united as they want the world to believe. Her silence-breaking moment wasn't only about supporting Charles as a brother, it was about sending a subtle warning that the crown itself is under strain. That's why her words hit so hard. If Charles had stepped aside purely for personal health reasons, it would have been tragic, yes, but understandable. A private choice, a human decision. But if he had been nudged, or worse, pressured into leaving the stage, then the story becomes something else entirely. That story speaks of fractures, of internal power plays, and of a monarchy struggling to hold itself together at the very moment the world is watching. The thought is unsettling. For centuries, the crown has been built on the illusion of stability. The royal family might endure scandals, divorces, and tragedies, but they always presented themselves as unshakable. If Anne's words even slightly confirm that division is real, that illusion begins to crumble. The public is left wondering, if the family cannot hold itself together behind closed doors, how can it lead a nation in the open? The beauty of Anne's statement is also its mystery. She gave just enough to spark questions, but not enough to deliver clear answers. She stood on a thin line, balancing truth and protection. On one hand, she seemed to defend Charles's dignity, reminding the world that he was more than the rumors. On the other hand, she hinted that forces greater than him might have shaped his decision. The brilliance, or perhaps the tragedy of her words, is that they invite endless interpretation. And so the questions pile up. Was Charles truly weary of duty, or was he cornered? Did William's growing influence play a role? Was Camilla's position stronger or weaker than we realize? And most importantly, did Anne speak as a loyal sister or as a protector of the monarchy itself? Whatever the answer, one truth is clear. The family rift is no longer just a rumor. Anne's rare voice gave it shape, gave it presence, and made it impossible to ignore. And once a rift is visible, it cannot be unseen. The public is desperate for clarity, but the palace thrives on mystery, which means the silence that remains may be louder than anything Anne has already said. Duty versus family. For Princess Anne, the moment was never just about her brother stepping back, it was about the eternal balancing act between private bonds and public duty. The monarchy has always demanded sacrifices, but Anne has lived her entire life proving that when the crown calls, personal feelings must take a back seat. Her decision to finally speak on Charles's shocking retreat was not born out of impulse or emotion. It was a calculated reminder to the nation that the monarchy is not a single figure nor a fleeting chapter, but an institution meant to endure storms, scandals, and even sudden exits. Anne's words carried the weight of history. This was the sister who had never sought headlines, who never chased microphones or sympathy, suddenly stepping into the fire. She was not defending Charles alone. She was defending the very idea of monarchy. In her eyes, the crown is bigger than one person, even if that person is the king himself. Charles's departure, whether temporary or permanent, might feel unsettling to the public. But Anne's steady voice reminded people that kings and queens may change, but the institution must remain firm. Yet, there was something else hiding in her tone, something softer, something more human. Observers caught traces of sorrow in her carefully chosen words, as though behind the armor of duty, a sister was quietly grieving. After all, Charles is not just the monarch. He is her brother, her childhood companion, the man with whom she shared laughter and pain in the shadow of the throne. To speak about him in such a restrained, official way may have been her royal duty, but it also revealed an undercurrent of frustration. Perhaps Anne wished the situation had never reached this point. Perhaps she resented that family and crown had once again collided in a way that left scars for all to see. This duality, defending the monarchy while mourning its fragility, was what struck the public most. People realized that if even Anne, the unshakable one, the Rock of the Windsors, allowed a sliver of vulnerability to show, then the cracks within the royal household must run deeper than anyone imagined. The contradiction in her statement, loyalty mixed with laymanity, opened a flood of speculation. Was she subtly calling out those inside the palace who may have pushed Charles aside? Was she begging the nation to stay united as the family itself fractured? Or was it simply the voice of a sister torn between love and responsibility? For the monarchy, Anne's moment was a necessary act of reassurance. She reminded the nation that the royal family's struggles, however dramatic, will not topple the system that has stood for centuries. But for the family, her words exposed a truth they've long tried to conceal. The crown might survive, but the individuals who wear it are breaking under its weight. That is what makes Anne's statement so powerful. It was not simply about Charles's decision, nor was it entirely about protecting the throne. It was a rare glimpse into the emotional cost of duty, the personal toll behind the polished smiles. And in that sense, her message was both a shield and a confession. By stepping into the spotlight, Anne managed to steady the monarchy's image in the eyes of the public. Yet, she also invited a new wave of questions about what truly goes on behind palace walls. If the strongest, most disciplined royal reveals even a flicker of pain, then perhaps the future of the crown is not as unshakable as it seems. The future after the exit. Now the question everyone is asking is simple yet impossible to answer. What happens next? King Charles's unexpected decision has not only unsettled the palace, but also placed the monarchy itself in a state of limbo. For centuries, the institution has thrived on stability, on the promise that no matter the chaos outside the palace walls, the crown remains unshaken. But with Charles stepping back so suddenly, that very stability feels fragile. The royal roadmap has blurred, and even the most loyal subjects are left wondering whether the monarchy is entering its most uncertain era yet. Speculation about succession has grown louder than ever before. While no official announcements have been made, whispers about William and Catherine stepping into greater leadership roles continue to circulate. Supporters see this as a natural shift, a sign of generational change finally arriving at the gates of Buckingham Palace. They argue that the public has long been ready for William and Catherine, figures who embody both tradition and modernity, to lead the way. Yet others remain cautious, questioning whether the couple is truly prepared to carry such a heavy burden in the midst of internal fractures and external pressures. Anne's words, though carefully measured, have become a turning point. By breaking her silence, she didn't just defend Charles, she set into motion conversations the monarchy has long tried to avoid. Her message may have bought the royal family some precious time, reassuring the nation that the institution still stands. But in doing so, she also opened doors that may never close again. Questions about Charles's health, his ability to rule, and even the integrity of palace decision-making are now fair game. Once spoken aloud, such doubts rarely disappear. They linger, grow, and take root in public opinion. The ripple effect has stretched far beyond the palace gates. Parliament members have debated the stability of succession in quiet corridors. Journalists dissect every royal appearance for hidden meanings, while headlines shift between admiration and alarm. And in ordinary households across Britain, conversations over dinner tables echo the same worries. Is this the beginning of a new chapter for the monarchy, or the slow unraveling of an ancient institution? That uncertainty is perhaps the greatest legacy of Anne's statement. The monarchy has always thrived on its ability to appear timeless, immune to the chaos of politics and personal drama. But her words reminded the world that the crown is not untouchable. It is carried by people, and people can falter. Whether Charles's exit becomes a moment of renewal or decline will depend on how the royal family navigates the coming months. What makes this moment so haunting is its unpredictability. No one, not even insiders, seems to know what the next chapter will look like. Perhaps William and Catherine will rise to the occasion, ushering in a new era of strength. Perhaps the divisions within the family will deepen, weakening the crown from within. Either way, Anne's silence-breaking moment has marked a point of no return. Because once the silence is broken, there is no way back to the illusion of unity. The truth, however painful, is out in the open, and the future of the monarchy now hangs in the balance. Princess Anne's decision to finally speak was more than a family comment, it was a turning point. Her voice carried honesty, weight, and a sense of urgency that shook the nation. She reminded the world that the monarchy is built on people, not just symbols, and those people are under more pressure than we can imagine. The truth behind King Charles's exit may take time to fully surface, but one thing is clear: the silence is over. Anne has opened the door, and now the world is watching, waiting for what comes next. As we move forward, one question will linger. Was this the moment that saved the monarchy, or the moment that exposed its deepest cracks? What do you think about Princess Anne's bold move? Was she protecting her brother, or protecting the crown? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your voice matters in this story. If you found this deep dive into the royal family's most shocking moment insightful, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the latest updates. The story isn't over, and you won't want to miss what happens next.